To start the meeting. And first item. I want to start with our roll call. Chair Wallen here, Vice Chair Dufferin.
Here.
Commissioner Greenwald.
Here.
Commissioner Lowry.
Here.
Commissioner Yin.
Here.
Commissioner Oscarson.
Here.
Commissioner Towler.
Here.
Commissioner Sheets, please mark them as absent. All right, for staff, Commissioner Lowry, sorry, I got that. And then for staff, we have Executive Director Armstrong.
Here.
Associate Counsel Bassett here. Senior Legal Researcher Hayden here. Executive Assistant Pedroza here. And Aaron's office, that's okay. And then from the Attorney General's office, we have Venus St. Jules, Deputy Attorney General, who is filling in as our commission counsel until we have a replacement. So welcome, Lena. Now we will do the Pledge of Allegiance. Stand. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag
The flag of the United States of America.
States of
To the
America.
republic for which it stands,
For which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
justice for all.
God bless America and the great state of Nevada.
Executive Director Armstrong, are there any members of the public here who wish to comment?
There are no members of the public in the room. In addition, we've received no written public comment prior to the meeting, and I'll defer to Executive Assistant Pedroza to see if anyone is on the Zoom.
We have no members of the public on Zoom. Next item, item 3, approval of the December 8th commission minute. Commissioners Yen and Sheets were not present at the December meeting, so they will be abstaining on this item. But this time I would like to call the item and ask if there are any additions or corrections to the minutes as read. Okay, seeing none. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as read?
No,
So
maybe,
moved.
Right? All in favor, say aye.
no, thank you.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Right. Next item,
Aye.
next item. Item number 4, discussion and approval of a proposed stipulation concerning ethics complaint number 20-100C regarding Oleg C's Coach, Galena High School, Washoe County, State of Nevada. This time I want to open the item and state for the record that proper notice has been provided and waivers have been received for both identified cases. There was a review panel consisting of Vice Chair Dufferin, Commissioners Greenwald, Oscarson, and Sheets. Therefore, these commissioners may not participate or vote on the proposed stipulation as it applies to case number 21-100C SIS. This time, I would like to ask the council for the parties to identify themselves and their clients for the record.
Elizabeth Bassett, Associate Counsel for the Executive Director.
And do we have anybody for Mr. C's?
I don't know if you can.
Mr. Hamlin?
Mr. Handlin is on.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah, Steve Handlin for Oleg says.
Right. This time I would like Associate Counsel Bassett to present an overview of the proposed stipulation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, this is Elizabeth Bassett, Associate Counsel. The complaint in case number 21-100C alleged that SIS, the Galena High School boys basketball coach, used his public position to promote his private training camps for pecuniary gain. The commission directed the executive director to investigate claims that SIS violated NRS 281A 400 subsections 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, and 10, and NRS 281 420 subsections 1 and 3. Although SIS initially failed to respond to the complaint, he later retained counsel, Mr. Handlin, and who helped engage in the commission's process. The investigation eventually showed that while SIS did retweet advertisements for his private coaching camps from his personal Twitter onto the Galena boys basketball official Twitter account, those private camps were never held and he incurred no financial gain. Thus, in lieu of an adjudicatory hearing, SIS and the executive director have entered into the proposed stipulated agreement before you today. The terms of that agreement are as follows. The allegations that SIS violated NRS 281A 400 2, 1, 2, and 5, and NRS 281A 421 will be dismissed. SIS agrees to stipulate to one non-willful violation of NRS 281 407, which prohibits the use of government time, property, equipment, and other facility to benefit a significant personal or pecuniary interest of the public officer. Although the review panel did not initially refer subsection 7 to the commission, once SIS engaged in the commission's process and more facts were determined, the parties agreed that this was the most appropriate violation to apply to this matter. The mitigating factors present in this matter that the executive director and I believe make a non-willful violation appropriate are that SIS never hid his private coaching business, which was well known at Galena and was well known when he was hired. That SIS has not previously been the subject of any violation of the ethics law or previous ethics complaints. That after initially failing to respond to the complaints, SIS obtained counsel and began to cooperate with and participate in the commission's investigation and resolution of this matter. And that his cooperation eliminated any costly expenses and time and the time of depositions or extensive work. That SIS did not receive any financial gain as a result of this conduct because all of the private coaching events advertised on the Twitter were canceled and replaced by free open gym events. And that the Nevada Interscholastic Athletics Association, which is the governing body of high school athletics in Nevada, has not adopted any ethics policies or guidance for coaches, nor are high school coaches currently required to receive any training in ethics or conflicts of interest. So Mr. SIS had not received any training in ethics prior to his hiring at Galena that would have trained him on these issues. As part of the agreement, Mr. SIS will now complete ethics training approved by the commission's executive director within 60 days of approval of this agreement. Given the information obtained in the investigation of this matter and the mitigating factors discussed, the executive director and I believe the terms of the stipulated agreement are appropriate. We'd like to thank Mr. SIS and his counsel in this matter, Mr. Handelin, for their cooperation and patience in the investigation and resolution of this matter. One other matter is that upon final review of the proposed agreement in this matter, once it had already been submitted to Commission Council, a scrivener's error was identified in paragraph 5B that I request the Commission Council to correct in the final version of the agreement. Inadvertently, NRS 281A 400 subsections 3, 4, and 10 and NRS 281A 423 were inadvertently included in that paragraph and should be removed, while NRS 281A 400 subsection 5 should be added. It's just an editing error. I would be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Fellow commissioners, questions? Or not, I'm not going to ask questions, sorry. I want to go and ask Mr. Hanlon if he has any further information to add. You need to unmute yourself.
Sorry about that. No, Ms. Bassett's been great to work with, but I will kind of highlight the fact that high school coaches need to be educated on this stuff. And I know there had to be a scapegoat on this, and I get that, but the high school coaches in the whole state need to be educated on this to avoid further issue.
Thank you. Well, that's what our executive director is doing. He's traveling the state, educating people. So thank you for those comments. And this time I would like to open it up for questions from my fellow commissioners. Any questions from my fellow commissioners on this case?
I do have one under the stipulated facts, which is section 4, number D. It says the Galena gym is open to allow students to practice their skills and pictures and updates about the team's games. Is that, I didn't understand what that meant. It's on page 2.
Okay. Yeah. I saw.
It looks like this is Executive Director Armstrong. It looks like that sentence before is a parenthetical, and so which are open to allow practice their skills describes the open gym schedule. So it's the boys basketball Twitter included information about the practice schedules, open gym schedules, and pictures about the team's games.
Okay.
That makes
Practice
sense.
their skills and pictures. Okay. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
they're not practicing pictures.
I didn't know if they were taking
Yeah.
pictures in there or.
Yeah, I was,
Madam Chair,
yes, Mr. Oscarson.
I certainly appreciate the comments about the fact that coaches need training and Mr. Armstrong's acknowledgement that we're going to try and work some process with them. However, I didn't appreciate the scapegoat comment. And I find that this thing was double vetted out. There was a lot of work on staff's behalf. So just for the record, I want to put on the record that I thought that was unnecessary.
Thank you, Commissioner Oscarson. Any other comments, from my commissioners that can participate? All right, I will entertain a motion to approve the stipulation in the case of Mr. Sis in case number 21-100C.
Chair Wallen, this is Commissioner Yen.
Oh, Commissioner Yin.
Oh, I'm just good. I move to
Yes.
accept the terms of the stipulated agreement as presented by the parties and corrected by Associate Counsel Bassett to resolve case number 21-100C for Ziz and direct Deputy Attorney General Lena St. Jules to finalize it in appropriate form.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second.
All right, Commissioner Lowry, second. All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. Mr. Hanlon, I just want to thank you for your cooperation in working with our staff. Thank you very much, and we will definitely work on getting coaches trained.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Okay, next item is item 5, the Executive Director of Agency Status Report. Executive Director Armstrong, will you please your presentation?
Yes, so this is Executive Director Armstrong. We'll start with education and outreach with the lots of folks changing government jobs at the start of the year. We've been focusing on cooling off our social media educational pieces, and we recorded a YouTube presentation on cooling off that should be like a 5-minute one to add to our YouTube page that we can post by the end of the month that will explain the cooling off provisions for folks. We also published that cooling off resource guide, which has been helpful. We've had a number of outgoing directors of agencies reach out for education, and it's easy to point to that guide and find that resource very helpful. So that's great. In February, we'll be really, I think, kind of testing out there some priorities for folks and getting a lot of feedback in terms of how an updated ethics manual, what topics might be most helpful for that and what format that will be. The statute requires us to develop an ethics manual. The last one was developed long ago. And so the staff is, as we're getting together as a team next week to have kind of a kickoff meeting to launch the process of developing a new manual. We'll probably reach out to NACO and the League of Cities as well in that process to figure out the best way to do that. I imagine that the new manual will be more like a manual in parts posted to the website instead of like one 200-page PDF, because that will make it easier to update in the future and for people to access what they need. So that will be some February stuff, as well as strategic posts during the legislative session that coincide with, hearings of our bill or hearings of other bills in our budget. So that will be a focus on the social media part. I don't have the followers. I'll include that next month, but we have had kind of a little explosion of LinkedIn followers, which is great because those typically tend to be our public officers and employees. Like Twitter's kind of more general public. But we've had a lot of people start to follow the LinkedIn for that longer formation item. So that's good. It's one of the things I remind people at the end of every training, like you can follow us on Twitter and LinkedIn. And so that's where we get a bunch of the followers. In terms of training and technical assistance, we were very busy in December and so far in January. You can see who we've trained there. We tried newly elected officer briefings and we had 10 folks join us for like a quick half hour, like, hey, here's the ethics law, fill out your acknowledgement, ask us for more training later. So that was great. We went out to Golconda, which is a tiny town of 200 people, and their water and fire board both got together in the old Golconda school, and they very appreciated the ability for us to go out there and help them out. You can see we had lots of folks in January. Washoe County, I believe I have next week. I'm going to confirm that. We're still trying to find the right date for the Washoe County new officers. And then last week we had the Association of Government Accountants was at the Atlantis. So the Northern Nevada chapter presented to them, which was a large group. And then also not on the, because the request to schedule it came after I sent this, but the governor's office requested training. So I was able to train the governor's office last week as well. In February, we'll have the Las Vegas Convention or Visitors Authority, the Clark County School District trustees. And then once the lieutenant governor heard that the governor's office got trained, they asked for that. So we're going to probably do a joint training with the new controller and the lieutenant governor in terms of ethics training.
Can I interrupt Executive Director's presentation? Just had a question for you, if I
Yeah.
may.
Yes.
Was the governor there?
The governor was in attendance, yes.
And what, was all the staff there or just?
They had some technical issues in connecting to the south. And so we're going to do a Zoom-based one for the southern staff, but all other staff. The chief of staff made it clear to the staff that the attendance was mandatory for them at that training. So they had the whole staff there.
Thank you.
That's good that the, you know, I mean, you should just do a training for the rest of the constitutional officer.
Yeah, we're definitely hitting the new ones first, and then we'll reach out to the attorney general and the treasurer as well. And then the one in Las Vegas was great because it was all their, you know, the mayor, the city council people and their staffs. And so I reached out to the city of Reno to see if they would like similar training. Met with their, I think, assistant county manager yesterday. So we're training Reno shortly too, in kind of a similar manner. They have, I think, 3 new members, either appointed or elected. So they've got a fresh new group as well there. So the training continues to roll on. For our online learning management system, after Carrie and I put in a bunch of work in terms of RFP, they said, you don't need an RFP anymore. Like, we decided you don't need it. And so, which I was very appreciative of, because that would have like extended it even longer. And so I appreciate purchasing, like noticing that, well, why are we making this so much more complicated than it needs to be? And so the vendor has made sure they're a registered Nevada entity and become a vendor. And so I think we're in the final stages of the Administrative Services Division connecting with them, and then it will go to the clerk of the board because it's under a certain amount for a final approval. And we should be able to get rolling on that in February.
Didn't you get money for this like last summer?
We did, like last summer, fallish, the ARPA money. And so we won't be able to spend all the money we were granted because of this purchasing stuff. So yeah, I will say one of the biggest challenges in going from the super large agency to Commission on Ethics has been no internal fiscal folks to do all that, right? We lean on some other folks. So, but the good news is we're close. We're close, and it'll be good. I mean, it was kind of good that we secured the logo before we went forward, because they'll be able to incorporate the logo through the branding on all the educational materials. So that is good. The next item is the quarterly case log. So attached is the quarterly case log. So this is updated through the end of last quarter, so through the end of the year. And what you can see is that we've really wrapped up all cases from fiscal year 19 and 20 in terms of work needing to be done. Those are just in deferral periods, the ones that are still open. For fiscal year 21, we have one adjudicatory proceeding that will happen in April. So that will conclude everything from fiscal year 21, and then we'll just have 22 and 23 cases. So in terms of cases hanging around for a while, we're kind of beyond that portion and have done a good job of catching up on those.
A question, if I may.
Yes,
Mhm.
Vice Chair.
Thank you. On the outstanding opinions that were requested, I see 3 here. And I believe our associate counsel is working on those. How's that coming along?
For the advisory opinions?
Yes.
Yeah, well, we definitely, and even, after the 31st, so they're on here, we've gotten quite a rush in the beginning of January. And so Liz and Darcy have gotten together, because it used to be Tracy and Darcy would really crank those out. And so they've come up with some processes that work for them. And then I took on a couple of the new ones too, because we had kind of a lull in complaints and a spike in advisory opinions, which Darcy always tells me that's normal. Like we're busy in one and the other one goes down, and it kind of flips flops. So
you're able without our commission council position and the way things were reassigned, you're able to keep on top of those, and those will be issued timely, is my question.
yes, they will, in the process of getting them their facts, and then they come back, we'll be able to hit those 45 days from the day we get the final facts back.
And I see on our public information that we posted on our website as is required, we Xed out the people that requested those particular opinions. But I wanted to, on the record, thank the people for asking for opinions. And part of that is our outreach, because I know that's an important part of what we do. I just want to make sure that the opinions are still being cranked out, and those are, because it's, we kind of always focus on the complaints and we forget sometimes about the opinions because, as you can look at our list, there's not very many on here, but those are still an important part of what we do. So just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, I think what we've seen too is that the trend continues where most advisory opinions are on the topics of disclosure and abstention. So the ones we've received after the first of the year are really people who are elected to new positions that foresee a potential conflict and want to figure that piece out.
Or somebody,
And cooling
there's
off.
one on here where somebody's retired and they want to make sure like off period is fulfilled, or if there's some kind of a conflict about who they're going to go work for perhaps.
Yeah.
I haven't seen those yet, so I don't know. I just recognize a name on one of those. Somebody actually used to supervise, which is kind of ironic, but anyway, I just want to make sure those are being handled.
Yeah.
I bring that up.
Yeah, I will say it's a lot, but we're still able to handle it. You'll also notice that there are 7 that are listed as pending investigation. That's a pretty decent chunk, but we've gotten together as an investigation team, and those should all be able to clear panels by March. And so, well within the time period that we need. But Aaron is quite busy, so cranking those out. And then I posted it. The next part of that quarterly log kind of shows you where all the cases happened. I'll note that in our annual report, we report fiscal year, but we did the numbers for the calendar year. And so for the calendar year, last year we had 105 complaints compared to 77 the year before. And we issued 26 advisory opinions compared to 11 the year before. So large growth, which will be a part of our story to tell as we go into the legislative session. I'll just throw it out there. Is there, just as we continue to take a look at stuff, are there parts of the quarterly report that are more helpful or you're more curious or interested in terms of, always kind of taking a look if there are ways to change reporting? I'm certainly open to that. I'm just going to see if there's any feedback on the quarterly report, if we like the way it is. So.
It's all, you have it all by dates. I don't know if it would be easier to look at if you, within that reporting year, whatever, instead of doing it by date order, do it by what the status is. Might be easier
Okay.
to look at it at a glance that way, I think.
Okay.
That's my opinion. I don't know if anyone else has a preference.
I'm sure I don't have a preference, but I think they did this originally by date order just to make sure that we were not, we were timely in our processing.
Right, but just for us to review it and see.
Yeah, now that we're caught up, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I want to commend staff for getting that backlog caught up. I mean, a year ago, I didn't know how you guys were going to do it, but thank you to all of you for working really hard to get it caught up. And I appreciate all the effort.
Thank you. So the next part of are there any other questions on the quarterly report? Okay, the next attached report is the legislative session report. Some late breaking news is that our budget will be heard on Friday, February 24th. And so once we understand what budget that will be, when it's released from the governor's office, then I'll finish up that presentation and we'll prepare to present on the 24th. But we got that news yesterday afternoon. which is great. On the legislative report, you'll see the two bills that we're tracking are AB 66, which is our bill, and AB 52, which includes changes to Nevada's open meeting law. The rest of those bills that are listed there are monitoring, so we don't have a really clear effect on the agency, but they could if they get amended or something like that. And so we'll do some analysis on those.
The one I'm curious about is the 875.
Yes.
Vision is related to ethics.
Yes, so then when you get to the bottom there, you see all the BDRs, which means the only thing we know about them is the topic. We don't have any language yet, right? And so the sponsor of 875 is Senator Spearman. And so when the language is released, we'll take a look at that and look at the impact. I imagine it's about government ethics, but it could be about some sort of other ethical thing. And so I have that marked to get email alerts when that language is available for review. And then there's some important dates on the last one. So any questions about the legislative session upcoming?
Do we have any meetings scheduled with the committee members? Leaders of the committees to?
We don't at this time. We can.
We need to get to talk to them. before
Yeah.
we get in the throes of session.
Our bill is an assembly bill, and so we'll start in that assembly committee. It's in there when you go.
Yeah,
When you go in and look at we know who the members of the committees are now. The assembly has not posted what their committee schedule is. And so, we'll reach out to Chair Gorlow and the staff and just say, our bill's in your committee. Let's
work on coordinating.
Yeah.
Myself and you.
Yeah.
Running.
The Senate committee, I want to say, is almost exactly like it was last session,
Okay.
but the assembly committee has a lot of new players, so that'll be an
Is
important
Assemblyman Davey on
one. He's a senator
it? Oh, so
now, so yeah, he's on the Senate side on our committee. So. And then Oren Shaw is the chair. So, and it seems like in the assembly side, a lot of the leadership is on there, like Assemblywoman Danielle Monroe Moreno, the speakers on that committee. So that should be a good committee too, I think. But yeah, we'll get those meetings scheduled. Now we have the meetings. We're going to we've set aside the appropriate number of annual reports to make sure all the committee members get one of those printed copies of our annual reports.
And we never got anything back from any of the leadership?
No, in terms of
Yeah,
the AB 65. No,
okay. Let's reach out to 66.
yeah,
I think it would be good. We did that last session. We reached out to leadership and met with them, so.
yeah, it's when you have. Yeah, we'll definitely do that with the committee. It's good that our bill's like already sitting there in committee. That tells me, I mean, we may get notice that our hearing is in the first week of the
So
session.
who's the sponsor of our bill?
The committee will be.
Oh, the committee.
Yeah, so it's our bill and they have to introduce it. And so when that happens, what will typically happen, what I have experienced in the past is the committee staff will reach out and say, we're thinking about having your hearing bill this day. Does it work? Then they put you on the agenda and, they say, we have a bill to introduce. And so, and then they'll have us provide that testimony.
Okay.
Have we reached out to the governor's office at all regarding our bill? Typically, we like to have them on board before we move forward to as well.
Yeah, in this case, we have not heard from the governor's office about who our point of contact or liaison is. And so I'll put that on my list, the committee chair and the staff, and then also the governor's office to see if we have a liaison, I think is the key. If not, we just go to the policy person. I think Michelle is her name.
I mean, it's. In a lot of prior years, like our liaison, I thought was the general counsel.
That has also, I mean, we had,
And then we had
We had them kind of, we had both. Since I've been here, we've had both the policy analyst
Mhm.
and the general counsel. So I can reach out to both and say, hey, just curious who might our liaison be for the session.
Or ask. Because,
Yeah, I can also reach out to the chief of staff.
okay.
So we're gearing up. We did get confirmation that some agencies are asked to come in before session and present. And so the governor's finance office said, let us know if you get contact about that. And Executive Assistant Pedroza was able to confirm when we got notice about our hearing on the 24th, we won't be one of those pre-session agencies. No, they're usually the big ones. So I had to do some digging because they're like, yeah, you did one last time. I was like, no, I don't see anything on that. And so the big question is, in the governor's recommended budget, will it have all of our enhancement requests that we requested? And then if so, I can start, like I said, finalizing that presentation.
Does that include the new position?
That would be the new position and the competitive salaries, the two.
That's so important.
Yeah.
You have a lot going on.
Yeah, it will be an interesting session. You know, every session gets into a rhythm and you don't know what that's going to be until you're in it. So we'll see how that goes.
So you were talking about your social media and tell people follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter and stuff.
Yeah.
Are you seeing an increase in followers?
Yeah.
Stations?
Yeah, we do. I'd say after a presentation, three things happen. Well, a couple things happen. One, we will get a bump in the Twitter and the LinkedIn followers. Like I said, LinkedIn right now seems to be the hot one that everyone is following us on, which is great. The Twitter growth has slowed a little bit. I imagine once we start posting and sessions going and everyone's watching stuff in session, that will also go. And then it's not uncommon to have, like I know that one of I think the advisory request that we received yesterday, right, is from an agency I recently trained. And so when we go and so people in the training will either realize that their coworker is violating the ethics law, and so they want to file a complaint, or they want some more advice, because I say in the training, you should probably, request an advisory opinion. And then the other thing that happens is somebody hears that we trained somebody and then they ask for training. So yeah, that's where we're seeing. So we're seeing growth in both the social media arenas, and then the training is also helpful in providing us casework to do. And then the last, the two items on the second page of the report, in terms of our current fiscal year budget, we're projected to have a slight shortfall in the IT account, which has been typical the last several years. And we have funding in court reporting that can easily be a work program over. So that is the one area we'll see if they do some technical adjustments to increase that. But basically, if we buy anything with a plug, electronics, it goes into that IT budget instead of like because there's some stuff I would think is operating, right? Like you need a new mouse. No, that's the IT budget. It's not really like a big IT project. It goes into the IT budget. So as we are, as IT is more integrated into the work we do, we have more costs there. And then that commission council retirement reconciliation, again, will happen at the end of the fiscal year. And then been working with the Attorney General's office in terms of the conflict counsel costs. So there is at least one case where the AG's office is unable to represent us while we have a vacancy in the commission counsel position. And so there will be a more immediate expense to us than the regular cost allocation process billing that would happen with the Attorney General's office. So I'm working with Greg Ott at the Attorney General's office to figure out what that kind of three-way contract looks like to have us fund the conflict counsel costs.
So we're gonna have to go to IFC and get additional money.
I don't think so. I think based on the timing of that case, based on the length at which the commission counsel position is expected to be vacant, I would imagine we'd be able to do a work program to go from personnel into contracting for that cost. And then the question will be like, how much money is in that pot to have that continued representation by the conflict counsel. But yes, that will be would be interesting situation if we did have to go to IFC for anything more than a quick, our small level of transfer. I don't think we'll get there. But that's just something to keep an eye on, to know that conflict counsel cost is more immediate than the regular AG's office cost allocation process.
On your, back to the budget update, and one of your bullet points was the commission council retirement reconciliation. So in my experience, the agency, in this case, the commission, it has to pay for, when someone retires, is for all the sick leave that's on the books for that individual and whatever other leave is on the books for that individual. So is that what that bullet point's about?
Yes, yeah, that's our portion of that payout.
Is that going to impact us materially?
No, and I think if you think about Commission Counsel Chase retired in early December, probably her salary savings for the rest of December will cover that cost.
But you mentioned earlier that the salary savings also is going to be for payment of additional legal services. So that's kind of.
Yeah, so I think the January, February savings should hopefully be able to cover the conflict counsel costs.
So it's just a juggling act for you to figure all that out. At the end of the day, if we need to ask for more money, then we'll have to do that. If not, then there'll be some salary savings at the end of the day, at the end of the fiscal year.
Yeah. And it's not unusual, I think, to if the retirement reconciliation is causing us to go over our total allocated funds, to then go and ask the IFC for reserve funding for that purpose. I think there's always like 2 or 3 retirement reserve requests on that IFC agenda.
Thank you.
Commission council hiring update, January 13th was the application deadline. We got a good number of applications. Interesting enough, like again, half the applications were not from licensed attorneys. So the commission, the personnel subcommittee will be indicating who to interview, and we're going to do those interviews on February 1st. So I would imagine as if that February 1st meeting goes well, that the February commission meeting will include interviews and selection of commission counsel. And then if that timeframe stays on track, that person will probably start in early March. And that is it for my executive director's report.
Fellow commissioners, questions, comments for our executive director on his report? No? Okay. Thank you very much. That was very.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Oscarson.
when you get, Mr. Armstrong, when you get confirmation on the budget hearing, would you let me know? I'd like to come up and sit in the
It's
sit in the
February
gallery
20
for that.
it's February 24th.
Okay, so
At 8 a.m.
that's today. That's the date of it, right? That can
Correct. I
change.
mean, yeah, that the LCB fiscal analyst reached out yesterday and said, this is your assigned budget day.
Okay.
So that's not, it's not like, us guessing. It's not GFO guessing, it's straight from LCB. So that's probably pretty solid.
Okay.
I have it on my calendar, so I will be here.
Great.
And it's kind of good having the, commission, whatever commissioners want to come there just to show support. Commissioner Oscarson wants to come up, that would be great. Okay, all right. Commissioner Lowry.
Point of clarification, the February 1st date is the date that the subcommittee is going to be meeting with the candidates, correct?
That is correct.
Okay,
That is
thank you.
correct. Yes. And then from that group, if we have viable candidates, then we will move forward to have those individuals interviewed on our February 15th meeting. So at that meeting, if the commissioners can make it up here, that would be great. So I think interviewing in person makes a big difference versus interviewing them, seeing them on Zoom. You see a little bit more.
Chair Wallen.
And I know you're going to be
Yes.
gone at that time. So
Yes, I'll be traveling on an airplane, so I won't even be able to call in, unfortunately.
I know, but I appreciate that and you're always there when you can be. So sometimes work gets in the way. So, thank you. Right, other comments? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the executive director's report as presented. Is
I'll make that motion.
there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 I,
Motion carries. Right, next item, commissioner comments. Fellow commissioners, any comments you want to make or additional agenda items you'd like to see put on the see none, all right. I just want to say that I'm really impressed with all the work that the staff on the commission is doing. And I think that, you guys are doing a great job here and moving the agency forward. And that's kind of good that you're looking at the manual to get that updated. I wonder if it even fits what our bylaw says right now. Yeah, so I'll be curious to look at. Right, now we move to item 7, public comment. Oh, I just want to also say thank you to St. Jules for participating today and being here for us. And we look forward to working with you. A few more meetings, the 1st and then on the 15th. So yeah, my pleasure, and you can always apply to work for us. We always accept, yeah. So I don't think Attorney General Ford would be very happy with me. I'm his friend, we'll get over it. All right, item 7, public comment. Are there, Executive Director Armstrong, are there any members of the public present?
There are no members of the public present in the room. I'll defer to Executive Assistant Pedrosa to see if anyone has joined the Zoom from the public.
We have no members of the public council. All right. That being said, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
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 Right?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, everybody. Have a good rest of your week. And Mr. Oscarson, we will see you on the 31st and 1st.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Is-
Bye.
Is
Yeah.
the review panel going to wait until 10:30 or are we just going to?
No,
jump right-
we'll have the review panel go ahead and start right now.
Thank you.
Yep.
You just have to dial back in, right?
Yeah, just log off and then log on.
Yeah.
Thank you.